Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Pisces for July 2016. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, where you can see my blog. You can also see more about my Astrology Apprenticeship program and my Creating Successful Online Business program, both which are enrolling in July. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. So what's going on in July? This is a time to act. If you've listened to my reports at least since March, you know that we had a window of time to act that kind of ended at some point in March, and we've been very much surrounded with this energy of retrograde. So we've had a Mercury retrograde cycle, which is long past now as we're into July, and we've had this long Mars retrograde cycle. So we've had 3 openings of time this year for action. One of them was in March, it passed. Another one is this month, and I'll go into more details about that when I talk about the general transits. And then we have another one later in the year, which I'll also talk about later. But first, I want to talk about what is specific this month for Pisces. So for the early degree placements are those with their birthdays from the beginning of the sign, so around February 20th through the 1st of March. And then the middle degree placements are from around the 2nd through the 11th. And then the late degree placements are from around March 12th through the end of the sign. If you're watching for your rising sign, the early is 0 through 9 degrees, the middle is 10 through 19, and the late is 20 through 29. You will see as I get into this why I point this out. The chart of an early degree placement looks pretty different than the chart of a late degree placement, so I like to make the designation so you can see where the differences are for you. So the early degree placements and some middle degree placements, and this is coming soon for you later degree placements, but it's not quite there yet, has to do with this massive amount of energy involving the 5th house, which is the house of children, the house of creativity, the house of romance, the house of fun, hobbies, pleasure, and fashion, and athleticism, and singing and acting and music, and leadership. So all of these things are being brought right into the forefront of your experience. Whenever the personal planets are clustered, the personal planets being the ones closer to us, like the sun and the moon, well, the new moon or the full moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, etc. The ones that are closer to us are the ones that have a shorter term influence. So they kind of change every month or so. And that energy is getting very strong for Pisces. So it's a time to have more fun. It's a time to focus on any of the things I listed. The new moon is going to be in the 5th house for you early degree placements and some of you middle degree placements. So besides Venus and the Sun and Mercury being there, you also have this new opening of energy there. So anything ruling conception, childbearing, or pregnancy, childbearing, delivery, and then anything involving kids or working with kids, even if you don't have your own, or if your creative projects are your babies, this is the energy of the month. So schedule yourself more fun. Schedule yourself time to do stuff with your kids or to feel like a kid again. And you might just find that kind of stuff coming to you even if you don't schedule it. So the rest of the middle and late degree placements still have this huge focus on the 4th house. And really the early degree placements also are experiencing this because for a different reason. The personal planets have since moved on from that house, but they're still in the sign Cancer, which rules the house, the 4th. So for everyone, and really for everyone of every sign, there's this strong focus on home, family, real estate, anything stemming from your home or about people's homes, anything having to do with emotional connections with people. This is just brought right into your forefront. So it's a really good time to get clear about what it is that you want your family life to look like and what kind of shifts have to happen in order for you to get there. Let's say you want to spend more time with your family. This is a good time, especially around the new moon, which is July 4th, to be thinking about what can I do to get to my objectives. I help a lot of people with reaching their dreams. That's what I'm good at. I have a really great blend of Sagittarius, which gives me big thinking, and then importantly placed Capricorn, thank God, to ground me and help me figure out what are the measurable steps we have to take to get to the bigger picture. And this is like the key for the equation for manifestation. You have to get clear on what you want. So anything involving this fourth or fifth house, this is the time to get clear about what you want so that you can create it. So those are the shorter term influences. The longer term influence has to do, well, there's lots of longer term influences, but the one I want to talk about has to do with Jupiter. Jupiter is one of my favorite planets. It's not that Jupiter can't do things that can be annoying or stressful, because of course it can, but overall Jupiter brings this expansion and growth and opportunities and luck. And so I like to track that in the chart to see where those huge opportunities are coming, because wherever Jupiter is in your chart, it's there for about a year. So you have 1 year every 12 years to have just a massive amount of expansion and move into a whole new phase in your life. So the early degree placements, some middle degree placements, and this is coming soon for your later degree placements, has to, by the way, the North Node is conjunct Jupiter. The North Node has to do with your highest expression in this lifetime. So wherever North Node is placed in the chart of the general transit or in your personal chart, it talks about the bigger picture of your destiny. So the steps that you have to take to get there. That's a big theme for this month as well. So Jupiter is in the 7th house for you early and middle degree, some of the middle degree placements. And since it's gone direct in May, it's really starting to pick up speed now. This is all about your relationships, growth in relationships, recognition amongst people in your life, being valued within your relationships. Some people, I see many people, I've had this experience myself, will meet their person during this transit. Some people will get engaged. Some people will get married. Some people will have children. Jupiter often has an additive effect. So it adds to whatever's there. So if you don't have your person, it could add your person. If you have your person, it could add in engagement or add in marriage or add in kids, etc. The 7th house also rules clients. I remember when Jupiter moved through my 7th house, all of a sudden I had a following. It expanded my connections, my relationships with people. And this is a very common occurrence, where your connections with people will grow during this time. So that's a big trend. So like I said, some of the middle and late degree placements, you haven't had this really strongly showing up. Maybe you've been sensing it, that it's coming. But for you still have Jupiter in the 6th house, which rules your health and your diet and your lifestyle and your pets and your workplace interactions. And this is a really exciting placement too, because the 6th house has to do with your experience of your everyday life. So your pets are there, you do stuff with them every day, your house, your workplace environment, where you go to the store, like what your habit or routines are. You can have a massive amount of healing and improvement in your health during the time that Jupiter is there. Sometimes to bring things into your face to get dealt with, Jupiter will make things worse so that it's like a cry for help so that you can take the steps you need to get things resolved. So that could happen first. There's another theme of this energy being here that has to do with not having to do everything yourself. There are so many resources. I'm totally guilty and probably the worst person for trying to do everything myself, because at certain placements in my chart, I've just been very, autonomous. And so if you're one of those people who you just do everything yourself, this Jupiter in the 6th house transit can help you open up to letting people who have strengths do the things that you need help with that they're good at, so that you have more time and energy and creative drive to do the things that you're good at. And one of my favorite resources, and you're going to want to grab me and kiss me when you see me, if you ever do, which I see a lot of people who are my viewers and subscribers out when I'm out. Anyway, you will want to check out Upwork. If you are one of these people who do everything yourself, go to Upwork.com. Upwork.com is an amazing resource for connecting with people all over the world who are great at the things you need help doing. It's my new favorite resource. So check that out, because the theme is you don't have to do everything yourself. You're in or about to be in this time where you're merging with other people in deeper ways. So those are the main things I'd like to talk about for Pisces specifically. Now there's some important, very exciting general transits that will affect everyone. So I call this month Sugar and Spice, because the way that the energies of Cancer, which are like smooth and sweet, come together with the energies of Leo, which are spicy, it reminds me of a recipe, a favorite recipe that I put together myself called Sexy Peach Pie. I haven't talked about my Sexy Peach Pie in a while. I think it's been years since I've mentioned this. But the month just feels like that to me, because there's honey and the peaches in the pie, and that's like the sweet, sultry Cancer energy. And then I put cayenne pepper in it, enough to notice. And that is the Leo, the spice, you know? And so this is the overriding energy of the month. One of the most important things to know about this month for everyone is that this is a time to act. Unless, of course, your intuition says something otherwise, because you always have to have your intuition supersede what general energies might be. But this is the first month since March that we don't have influence from Mercury retrograde. Mercury's retrograde phase long past, and we don't have that to look at until August 10th, when the shadow period starts again. And Mars has gone direct as of June 29th. So we are still in the shadow period of Mars retrograde, which means that Mars, which rules your oomph, your zest, your get up and go, how you use your energy, Mars is still a little sleepy. But it's direct nonetheless. So if you have been waiting since March to launch a bunch of things like I have, July is a wonderful time to do that. It's not as clear in some ways as the last 3 weeks of October, the whole month of November, and just the beginning several days of December, because that next window of time for action is when we don't have any personal planet retrograde influence or in shadow period. And that period of time, October, November, December, like once we're about a week into October, the rest of October, November, and the beginning of December, is the first time in the entire year of 2016 that we don't have influence from a personal planet being retrograde. Personal planets are the ones that are closest to us. So specifically, we talk about Mars and Venus and Mercury, because those are the ones that go retrograde. So you have a window of time here to act. And I have 3 reasons why I feel like this is a time to act, unless you're intuitively led to do your launches in the fall, in which case that would be fine too. The first is because we're not having to deal with Mercury retrograde. The second is because Mars is sleepy, but Mars is direct. The third is because there are amazing aspects this month. There are just so many glorious aspects. Many of them are trines. Trines are 120-degree angles, which are considered to be the most favorable in astrology as far as smoothness and easiness and flow. So we've got trines between personal planets, which last like a couple of days. And then we have trines between a personal planet and some outer planets, and those last, you know, more than that, like maybe a week or so. And then we still have a carryover from the big dog trine from last month, the last week in June, where Jupiter and Pluto had their final convergence. They've been dancing in and out of this configuration since fall of 2015. So you still have Jupiter and Pluto, these outer planets. When the outer planets move into any kind of convergence, the effects of that connection last for a longer period of time, because these planets take longer to move. So they're kind of just like locked in a configuration. And even though the most powerful time of the energy has passed, it's just recently passed, and you're still very much feeling it. So trines on all levels. There's a couple of dicey spots this month, one on July 11th and one on July 16th. Both could possibly be jarring aspects with Uranus, so you kind of expect the unexpected around those times, jolting news, jolting information that comes in. But the predominating energy of the month is really smooth, time for action, time to move forward. Another day to pay attention to, or the days around this day, is July 19th, when we have the full moon at 27 degrees of Capricorn. Full moons bring fullness, completion, fruition. Sometimes something comes in that you've been hoping for, or something wonderful happens so that you're emotional in a happy way. But sometimes the emotions are stressful, or stress or drama. So the energy is focused around Capricorn, and Capricorn rules father figures, authority figures, your work, your career, your life purpose. So there's possibility that a lot of smiles and recognition could come in from this fullness, but there's also the possibility of attention being brought to a work issue, or something that's been pending, that's been stressful. If you have anything with a father figure, with an authority figure, with someone at work, especially an authority figure situation at work, my recommendation is to work out the charge around that situation as much as possible before the full moon. Sometimes full moons bring things that we could not have anticipated, and it's just kind of like, what? Where did that come from? But sometimes it's like the coming to a head of something that's been pending. So if you know that every time you see a certain person at work, there's like a bad energy between you, or that you get irritated or stressed when you see them, you can do energy before the full moon to work it out within yourself. And one of the best tools that I have found to do this, and it works powerfully, I've done this at workshops where people who don't know anything about the book I'm going to recommend did this exercise, and they had amazing effects. It's from a book called The Marriage of Spirit by Leslie Temple Thurston with Brad Laughlin. And these are wonderful people, and this book is amazing, amazing spiritual tool. The exercises in section 2 give you this way to work out a problem that's on your mind, where it's like a mental exercise, but then it's also a spiritual exercise. And you'd be surprised at what you can clear on your own without even interacting with someone. So the more you can do that before these points of fullness, the easier possibly they could be. So at the end of the month, we've got a series of nice aspects with the planet Uranus, bringing creativity and genius and surprises that will likely be positive. The ones on the 11th and the 16th are those kind of unwelcome surprises usually. But when that planet is in a positive aspect, usually it's like something comes from the blue that's pretty cool. So something that is going on, that is pending for us to be discussing again, that I'm just going to bring up now, even though it doesn't actually go direct until August, is Saturn in Sagittarius. Saturn moved into Sagittarius and started, and this was last year, or actually at the end of 2014. This has been ongoing, and then it moved forward, and then it moved backwards, back into Scorpio, and so it's been going on. But since March, Saturn has been retrograde. And when it's in retrograde, it's more working on things in the backdrop. But then once it moves forward, which will happen in August, it's time to start bringing those things back into the forefront. So here are the 2 things I recommend involving Saturn and Sagittarius. The first is to understand that Saturn in Sag wants to help you bring about your big dreams into reality. Saturn is the taskmaster. Sag is the big thinker. They're not in an easy aspect with each other generally, or in a resonance with each other, but they can be very helpful to each other because they provide this important counterbalance. So whatever big dreams, big goals, destiny, something that just seems maybe even unreachable. Like if someone asked you, what is it that you really would like to do if you had all the resources and the wherewithal to do it? Those kind of big dreams. Saturn wants to help you in the time that it's in Sagittarius to create those big dreams. But what Saturn's going to say you have to do is to work hard and to be disciplined and to get efficient with your energy. That's a higher version of the energy of Capricorn. The lower vibration can be just kind of addicted to work and work for the sake of itself. But the higher vibration of Capricorn, which Saturn rules, which is why it's involved here, is that it wants you to work smarter. And this is a theme that I've been talking about for a while, and I'm going to keep talking about it because this is part of our evolution, if we choose to accept it, where we work smarter instead of harder. We might also work a little harder, but we wind up working smarter. So if you figure out the dream, get clear about it, then make a timeline about what would have to happen in order for you to get there, and then break it down into measurable steps. So if you want to be a filmmaker, right? You would have to first get a good camera, right? Maybe you need some training. Maybe you need to be able to take trips to the places where you want to do filming. Maybe you need to have a screenplay. Maybe you need to, whatever it is. So get the big dream in your mind. Think about the things that you would need for creating that, and then keep breaking those down into what you have to do every day to get to the big dream. And that's what Saturn wants to help you do. So here in July, right before it's about to go direct, be thinking about this so that you can have your plan ready. So these are the general energies of the month for everyone. And if you would like some assistance in using these energies and the ones that are more specific to your chart, which I can't see in the general horoscopes, then check out my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can see more about my personal coaching. You can also sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community and get the write-ups that I talk about with more detailed explanations of the aspects and what planets are involved, etc. And definitely check out, if you're interested in learning astrology and you resonate with how I teach, my Astrology Apprenticeship program will be enrolling in July, and my Creating Successful Online Business program will be enrolling in July. And I have lots of self-development programs on my website as well, and my blog. So go to anniehelpsyou.com, and I hope you have a wonderful month. See you next month. Bye.